The space is wrong. This is the first sharp recognition. It feels like the place you just left, the echoes of its recent shape vibrating in the air. But everything is warped. Corridors stretch to impossible vanishing points, their walls seeming to lean inward or bow out slightly. Rooms you remember being cozy closets are now vast empty halls, and familiar large chambers have shrunk into claustrophobic boxes. Objects are misplaced, furniture standing in nonsensical configurations, or things simply aren't there that should be. The air is still, carrying a perpetual twilight that seems to emanate from no specific source, just a pervasive low light that drains color and casts long, slow shadows. There are no lights, no lamps, no windows revealing sun or moon, just this dull internal glow. The silence is profound, broken only by the soft scrape of your own shoes on the floor and the sound of your breath. Then it returns, the faint, disturbing hum. It is lower now, perhaps, or closer, no longer just an ambient pressure, but seeming to carry something within it. It is the sound of whispers or warped sounds just at the edge of hearing, a low, resonant vibration that thrums not just in the air, but in your bones. The hum is no longer just a strange noise. It is becoming a presence, a symbolic motif deepening its claim on this place. You turn back to the door you came through, expecting the solid frame, the familiar handle, but it is gone. Or perhaps it is there, but when you reach for it, your hand meets a solid wall, cold and unyielding where the opening should be. Or it swings inward, not back into the space you left, but into another corridor, identical to the one you just walked down, stretching into the same twilight nothingness. The initial confusion, the simple puzzle of disorientation, curdles into something colder, sharper. This is not just wrong. This is hostile. This is genuine fear. Hesitantly, you begin to explore. Each step is taken with caution, every shadow examined. Impossible details press in. A clock on a mantelpiece has hands spinning wildly, or perhaps frozen on a time that never existed. 13.7. Reflections in darkened glass don't quite match your movements. A hand rises an instant too late, or a head turns the wrong way before snapping back into sync. Shadows linger long after you've passed their source, pooling in corners as if they have weight. This place is not following the rules of your reality. It is creating its own, and you are a trespasser. A vivid atmospheric detail catches your attention. The low hum intensifies slightly as you near a closed door, and you notice a faint, unnatural glow seeping from under the gap at the bottom. It is a sickly, pale light, unlike the pervasive twilight. And there, on the impossibly smooth floor leading to that door, is a single small scuff mark. It is the only imperfection in the vast, pristine surface. The hum vibrates against your eardrums, seemingly speaking in hushed tones you cannot quite decipher. The scuff mark and the glow are a clue, a foreshadowing. This space is not empty. Others have been here. Or perhaps something else is here. The silence is broken not just by your own sounds, but by the subtle proof that you are not alone in this twisted reflection. It invites a chilling question. Is this distortion a barrier or a cage? Welcome to the Eerie Hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. You stand at the threshold, the heavy, warped wood groaning softly, as if exhaling. The air here is unlike the outside. It tastes of dust and something metallic, like old blood or rust, clinging to the back of your tongue. The silence is thick, pressing in from all sides, yet beneath it a low hum resonates, vibrating faintly through the soles of your worn shoes. It feels less like a place and more like a prolonged breath held in anticipation. Dim light filters through grimy panes high above, illuminating motes of suspended dust dancing in the stagnant air. There is a faint, persistent scent of damp earth, though you see no soil indoors. Your hand brushes against the cold stone of the doorframe, rough and pitted under your touch. You feel a tremor pass through it, quick and gone before you can be certain. It's just an old building, settling, you tell yourself. But buildings don't usually hum. A glint catches your eye near your feet, a small, tarnished key, lying alone on the otherwise bare floorboards. It looks too intricate, too antique to be casually discarded. You pick it up. It feels heavy, cold. Why is it here? Your mind fumbles for a logical answer, finding none that settles comfortably. Perhaps it belongs to something inside. You look around, scanning the empty, cavernous space for a lock, a box, anything it might fit. There is nothing obvious. The key feels oddly significant now, a small, solid mystery in this large, echoing void. The silence deepens, and the low hum seems to pulse slightly faster, synchronizing with the beat of your heart. You pocket the key, a small weight against your hip. It feels less like finding something and more like accepting a summons. What unlocks anything here, you wonder? The air grows colder now, noticeably so, carrying that unsettling metallic tang mixed with something else, something vaguely organic, like decaying leaves or wet wool left too long in darkness. The low hum from before hasn't stopped. It shifted pitch, a little higher, more insistent, a sound that seems to vibrate in your bones rather than just your ears. As you move further inside, the light fades, swallowed by the oppressive gloom of the interior. You reach out, hands guiding you along rough-hewn stone that transitions abruptly to smooth, cold marble, then back to stone. It's disorienting. Ahead, a corridor stretches, impossibly long and straight, disappearing into the darkness. But as you watch, the far end seems to waver, to shift, as if the perspective itself is bending. You blink hard, and it appears normal again, merely a long, dark hallway. Had it actually moved? Doubt begins to creep in, a chilling tendril wrapping around your thoughts. Your memory of entering this place feels hazy now, the details blurring like a half-remembered dream. How long have you been walking? Minutes? Hours? The concept of time feels elastic here. You pause, listening. Beyond the low hum, you hear it. A faint, rhythmic scratching, coming from somewhere within the walls. It sounds too deliberate to be vermin, too slow to be settling wood. It's a persistent, grating sound, like fingernails dragging across stone, searching. You reach for the key in your pocket. Its cold weight, a small anchor in the growing strangeness. It doesn't belong to any lock you can see, yet you find yourself clutching it, a useless piece of metal that feels strangely protective. The scratching continues, steady, relentless. What is trying to get out? Or is it trying to get in? As you delve deeper into this warped reality, the architectural impossibilities become more pronounced. Stairs lead nowhere, ending abruptly against a wall mid-air, or loop back on themselves in dizzying spirals that defy gravity. Walls shimmer, not with light, but with an internal luminescence that seems to breathe, pulsing faintly. The air grows colder, thicker, carrying new, unsettling smells, like damp earth, and now, definitely, ozone, like the air just after a lightning strike, clinging to everything. The warped sounds amplify, sometimes resolving into indistinguishable whispers that seem to comment on you or the space itself. That low hum is now a constant presence, a backdrop to these murmurs. You encounter the first significant paranormal event, not a clear entity, but undeniable evidence of something else. Far down an impossible corridor, a heavy door slams shut with a resounding boom, echoing through the twisted structure. Though you saw no door there moments before, nor is there a clear wall for it to be set into. Or was there? You see a fleeting shape vanish around a corner too quickly to be human, too fluid. Later, you turn back to look at a stack of crates you passed, only to see a small object atop one of them subtly slide and drop to the floor when you weren't explicitly looking at it. The psychological toll increases significantly. You begin to doubt your senses, questioning your memories of how you arrived, feeling a surge of intense paranoia that prickles your skin. Is something watching you? You find a crumpled note near the base of a staircase that coils into nothingness above. It is written in a spidery, archaic hand. They watch through the gaps. The keys unlock nothing here, only trap you further within the turning. Don't listen to the whispers. They are the hinges groaning. The note crumbles to dust as you touch it, but the words remain etched in your mind. What turning? What hinges? The whispers intensify. No longer indistinguishable murmurs, but overlapping voices, thin and reedy, like wind whistling through fractured glass. They don't form coherent sentences, but they carry inflection, mockery, sorrow, cold observation. It's lost. Wrong way. Don't have the key. The architectural impossibilities now feel malevolent. A doorway you just passed is gone when you turn back, replaced by a solid, pulsating wall that hums with the same low frequency you feel in your bones. The floor beneath your feet seems to ripple, a subtle distortion that makes your stomach clench. That metallic smell is stronger, sharper, like tasting a current running through the air. You see your reflection briefly in a polished surface you didn't notice before. Not glass, but something dark and obsidian set into the wall. Your reflection is delayed by a fraction of a second, and its expression is different, colder, its eyes wider with a terror you haven't fully allowed yourself to feel yet. It smiles thinly, just as the surface darkens and the reflection vanishes. A chilling tremor runs through you. It wasn't just a reflection. It felt like a glimpse of another you, trapped somewhere else, perhaps somewhere deeper. You reach for the key again, finding your hand already clenched around it in your pocket, the metal warm now against your palm, as if holding a faint energy. What does it want? What does that reflection want? This place isn't just warped, it's alive. And it's playing games with your mind, eroding the boundary between what is seen and what is felt, what is real and what is. Its design. The walls are weeping now, not water, but a viscous, dark fluid that smells profoundly of damp earth and something sweet, sickly, like decaying flowers. It oozes down the stone, leaving glistening trails that catch the faint, unnatural light. The whispering voices have coalesced into a single, multi-tonal drone that surrounds you, making it impossible to tell where they originate. It feels like they are inside your head, or perhaps the space itself is articulating thoughts you never knew you had. The architectural impossibilities are no longer passive. They shift visibly. A hallway elongates as you walk down it. A door appears where there was only wall seconds before, slightly ajar, revealing only absolute darkness within. A darkness that seems to absorb the sound of the omnipresent hum. The feeling of being watched is overwhelming, a physical weight pressing down on you from all sides. You stumble, catching yourself against a wall that feels yielding, soft, like damp velvet stretched taut over bone. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. You doubt everything now. Your name, why you are here, if the world outside even exists anymore. You pull the key from your pocket. It is no longer tarnished brass, but a deep, unsettling black, absorbing the light around it. It feels heavier, colder than stone. You hold it up, turning it over in your trembling fingers. The shape is intricate, impossible, shifting slightly in ways that defy geometry. Does this key open something, or does it lock something away? Perhaps it locks you away. The dark doorway in the wall beside you creaks open wider, invitingly, silently. Is the greatest horror what lies beyond the lock, or the fact that you might hold the key to step through it? The silence returns, not the thick, waiting silence of the beginning, but a drained, hollow quiet that feels like the absence of everything. The viscous trails on the walls are drying, leaving behind a residue that glints like dark dust. The light, what little there was, seems weaker, diffused through an oppressive haze that settles in the air. The intense paranoia has receded, replaced by a profound, bone-deep weariness and a strange, unsettling calm. The impossible architecture remains, frozen in its distorted state, staircases to nowhere, shimmering walls, but it feels less threatening, more like permanent scars left on reality. You are no longer searching for a way out, or even for answers. The questions that consumed you before seem distant, irrelevant. Your memory is fractured, fragmented. You recall colors more vividly than faces, sounds more clearly than events. The only thing that feels real, tangible, is the weight of the key in your hand. It is back to its original tarnished brass, lighter now, innocuous. You look at it, turning it over and over. It means nothing, or it means everything. You walk slowly through the silence, the hum gone, the whispers faded. You are just walking. Where, you do not know. The air is just cold now, without the strange smells. The supernatural event, whatever it was, has passed, leaving only this emptiness behind. The only lingering effect is the feeling of a presence just out of sight, a shadow in the periphery of your awareness. You no longer jump at sounds. There are no sounds, just the slow, deliberate sound of your own footsteps echoing in the profound quiet. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. The space twists itself into shapes that actively mock recollection. Paths you thought you knew, corridors you traversed moments ago, are gone, replaced by sheer walls of crumbling plaster or choked dead ends draped in what looks like moldering fabric. The landmarks, once merely uncanny, are now grotesque parodies. The ornate grandfather clock stands not against a wall, but lies shattered on the floor, its hands spinning wildly backward, casting impossible shadows. The portrait of the stern-faced man hangs upside down, its eyes gouged out, replaced by dark, wet holes that seem to follow you. This is no longer just unsettling. It feels malicious, engineered to disorient and break. The sounds, once distant and formless, are now chillingly clear. They whisper just behind your ear, voices that are undeniably familiar. A parent's disappointed sigh, a lover's forgotten endearment, twisted into a guttural mockery. Your own voice, echoing a fearful question you just thought, but never spoke aloud. Why are you here? It hisses from the empty air. Too close. This escalation feels personal, invasive, as if the very walls have learned your deepest insecurities and regrets. You feel a sudden, biting cold press against your hand, a fleeting touch that lingers like frost on skin, yet nothing is there when you snatch your hand back. It's a violation that bypasses the physical, settling deep within the nerves. You catch sight of yourself in a cracked pane of glass set into a doorframe that shouldn't exist here. But the reflection is wrong. It smiles wider than you could, eyes vacant, static flickering across the surface of its skin like a bad signal. You stare, rooted, feeling a profound unease bubble up from somewhere deep inside. The reflection doesn't mimic your fear, it seems to feed on it. This warped reflection, this false mirror image, is more than a trick of the light. It is an accusation, a subtle theft of self. Something begins to slip. A moment ago, you were certain you were looking for the emergency exit. Now the thought feels distant, hazy. Why were you looking for it? What is an emergency? A cold fog drifts across your mind, leaving blank spaces. Who were you before you entered this place? The memory feels like a dream you can't quite recall upon waking, fragmented and intangible. Doubt gnaws at the edges of your consciousness. Are you fleeing something, or were you drawn here? As you stumble past a particularly twisted hallway, the sign for the emergency exit appears again, glowing faintly ahead. But something about it is off. The green is too sickly. The running figure seems to recoil, back into the doorway, rather than emerge, and from it leaks that same low, resonant hum, thicker now, more insistent. The whispers grow louder near it, no longer mimicking your past, but murmuring warnings, or perhaps invitations, that suggest this exit is not a conclusion, but a threshold. Deeper, come deeper, they sigh from the space around the door. A promise or a threat you can no longer distinguish. You hesitate, caught between the fading instinct to escape and the chilling realization that the exit might be the trap itself, the reflection of a false hope in this house of mirrors. Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. Tonight, we descend into the hushed halls of a place that has waited a long, long time. A place where the air itself seems to hold its breath, and the past is not just history, but a present that refuses to release its grip. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The silence here is louder than any noise. You step through the threshold, leaving the world you knew on the cracked flagstone path behind you. The heavy door, groaning like an ancient hinge, protesting the intrusion of time itself, swings shut behind you with a soft, final thud that doesn't quite belong to wood or metal. It sounds more like a sigh. You stand in the entrance hall, a vast, shadowed space where dust motes dance in the single shaft of twilight, piercing a grimy window high above. The air is thick with the scent of decay, a damp, musty odor of stagnant water and forgotten things. It clings to your tongue, sour and cold. The house feels immediately larger inside than it appeared from the outside, the walls seeming to recede into impossible depths. A long, empty corridor stretches before you, lined with doors that seem too numerous, too close together. There is no light except the weak gray outside, filtering through unseen openings, casting long, distorted shadows that writhe like living things. A prickling sensation starts on the back of your neck, the undeniable feeling of being watched, not just by something in the shadows, but by the shadows themselves. It's as if the house itself holds a gaze, ancient and unblinking. Your initial curiosity gives way to a tremor of apprehension, a subtle fracture in your resolve that begins in your gut and spreads outwards. And then you hear it, a faint, almost inaudible click, like a distant key turning in a lock, echoing impossibly from the depth of the silence. It's a sound that shouldn't be, a promise whispered on the edge of hearing. The silence here is louder than any noise. You think again, but the silence is not empty. It is merely waiting for the echoes to begin. The faint click lingers in the ringing quiet, a phantom sound you chase down the long corridor. The doors lining the hall shift subtly as you pass, or perhaps it is your perception that shifts. You stop before one, its dark wood warped and peeling. You reach out a hand, but hesitate. The surface seems to ripple just before you touch it. Like disturbed water, doubt gnaws at the edges of your mind. Did the door ripple? Or did your eyes play a trick in the gloom? You step back, uncertain of what you just saw, uncertain of what you didn't see. A cold dread settles in your stomach, solid and heavy. You continue down the hall, the sense of being watched intensifying. It feels as though countless eyes are tracking your movement from behind those many doors. The air grows noticeably colder in one section of the corridor, emanating from a patch of wall that appears to weep a slow, viscous moisture, glistening faintly in the scarce light. You touch it, and it is unnaturally cold, damp, like touching the skin of something asleep and dreaming of ice. As you move past this weeping wall, the faint echoes return, no longer just a click, but overlapping sounds now. A faint, high-pitched giggle that cuts off abruptly, followed by the distinct shuffle of feet on dry leaves, though you are indoors on wooden floors. These sounds are distorted, stretched thin, like voices heard from underwater. You tell yourself it's the wind, the old house settling, but the sounds feel intentional, placed specifically for your hearing. What you hear is not what was, but what is intended, you think. And the thought chills you to the bone, because it implies a will behind the sounds, a purpose in their unnerving clarity. The hallway seems to stretch infinitely ahead, the promised end receding with every step. And for the first time, you wonder if you are merely walking in place. The hallway does not end. It twists, not in geometry, but in feeling. A doorway that should lead to another room instead opens onto a view of a tangled, dead garden, under a sky the color of old bruises. Though you are several stories up, you step back quickly, your heart hammering against your ribs. But when you look again, it is just another dark room, filled with broken furniture. This constant, subtle defiance of logic begins to erode your sense of self. Who is walking through these halls? Is it still you? You catch a glimpse of yourself in a large, ornate mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. But the figure in the glass is slightly behind your movements, its eyes wider than yours, fixed on something you cannot see, a faint, unsettling smile playing on its lips. It looks like you, but feels entirely alien, a doppelganger observing the real you with detached amusement. This reflection is not yours, it is merely like yours. The air grows heavy and tastes metallic, like copper or fresh blood before a thunderstorm. It makes your teeth ache, and a low, persistent hum begins to vibrate through the floorboards, a resonance that bypasses the ears and goes straight to the bone. This hum is the foundation upon which the echoes now build. They are clearer now, not just sounds, but snippets of conversation you remember having, or perhaps conversations you might have had, twisted into grotesque parodies. You hear your name whispered from empty rooms, laced with accusation or cold pity. You shouldn't be here, one echo hisses from behind a door. You belong with us, another sighs from the weeping wall. The reflections flicker in every polished surface, a framed photo, a dusty tabletop, even your own fingernails, showing distorted faces or glimpses of other impossible places, layered upon the dull reality around you. Perhaps the reflection is the one walking forward, and you are merely the shadow it leaves behind, you muse, a chilling detachment creeping into your thoughts as the familiar boundaries of your identity begin to blur. A morbid curiosity, cold and clinical, now overrides the fear. You feel drawn deeper, compelled by the impossible structure and the echoing whispers that seem to know you intimately. Objects appear and disappear. A teacup balanced precariously on a banister where there was none before. A child's doll slumped in a corner that was empty moments ago. A grand staircase leads upwards, but halfway up, the steps vanish into a solid wall of brick that was not there before. You walk towards a door that opens silently onto a space of pure, impenetrable blackness, devoid of light or sound. It feels less like a room and more like an absence given form, and you feel a terrifying pull towards it, a desire to step into the void and cease to exist. A constant, low hum vibrates through the entire house now, making your very bones ache, vibrating in your teeth, a resonant frequency that feels malevolent. It is the sound of the distortion itself, a low, thrumming engine of wrongness. Upon this hum, the echoes swell into a chorus, no longer just sounds and snippets, but waves of pure emotion, overwhelming despair, incandescent rage, bone-deep loneliness, manic joy, all layered, chaotic, and directed at you. They are memories that are not yours, fears you have never felt, truths and lies indistinguishable from one another, all screaming for your attention. The reflections are everywhere now, in puddles on the floor, in the condensation on a window pane, in the gleam of your own eyes. They are fragmented, showing 1,000 different versions of you, or not you, dissolving and reforming like static on a screen. The house is not a container for memories. It is the memories, made solid and spiteful. You realize with a terrifying clarity that feels like the edge of madness. The compulsion to move forward, to reach the source of the hum, the core of this cacophony, becomes irresistible. You stand at the heart of the distortion. It is not a single room, but a confluence of impossible spaces, a vast, echoing chamber that folds in on itself. The walls made of shifting twilight, and the floor a surface that is both solid ground and deep, churning water. The sickly, pulsing light here has no discernible source, simply existing within the space, illuminating nothing clearly, but casting long, unstable shadows that writhe and elongate like grasping hands. The paranormal core is fully revealed, not as a being, but as the space itself, a consciousness woven into the fabric of this impossible reality, and it interacts with you directly. It speaks not with words, but with visions, manifesting your deepest fears and failures before your eyes, distorted and grotesque. You see yourself reflected in countless surfaces that bloom on the walls and air, each reflection a moment of pain or regret, amplified 1,000 times. The echoes become overwhelming here, a deafening cacophony that threatens to shatter the fragile structure of your sanity. It is the sound of everything: laughter, screams, whispers, silence, all at once layering upon themselves until they form a singular, terrifying voice that penetrates your skull. It is the sound of fragmented truths and terrifying lies, a torrent of information and noise that reveals the core's nature not as evil, but as pure, unadulterated chaos given form. This is the peak of your psychological unraveling. You feel overwhelming despair wash over you. See hallucinatory figures weeping in the pulsing twilight, and your grip on reality loosens, frays, and snaps. The echoes, the symbol of this place, are now intrinsically linked to the core horror and your fate. They are not just sounds, they are the space, the visions, the core, and soon they will be you. A chilling understanding settles deep in your fractured mind. Escaping this reality is not possible because you are already dissolving into its sound. Or if you could escape, the cost would be leaving something essential behind, something that the echoes would consume. You are not witnessing the distortion, you are becoming it. The deafening cacophony does not truly stop. It simply recedes, pulling back like a tide of pure noise, leaving silence where the sound was. But the silence is different now. It is heavy, resonant with the memory of noise, and you feel the echoes inside you, a persistent hum behind your eyes. You are standing somewhere now, or perhaps floating. The impossible spaces have faded, replaced by a dull, gray sameness that stretches in all directions. The intense interaction is over, but the core's presence lingers, a cold spot deep in your chest where your heart used to beat with urgency. What remains? You touch your face, and it feels unfamiliar, like sculpted clay that hasn't quite hardened. The psychological residue is profound, a fragmented self scattered like broken glass. Can you distinguish reality from the visions? The line has been erased. Unanswered questions swirl in the quiet. What was it? Was it a place, or a mind, or a memory? Did you escape, or were you simply absorbed into a quieter corner of the distortion? The recurring motif of the echoes is not gone. It is internal now, a faint, constant ringing in your ears, a vibration in your teeth. You catch a glimpse of yourself in a still surface, maybe a puddle, maybe just the reflection in your own tear-filled eyes. The reflection is dull, washed out, but for a fleeting moment, you see a flicker of that same sickly, pulsing twilight that marked the core. Deep within your pupils, you carry the echoes now. You are the echoes, in part. The house may be behind you, or perhaps the house is simply what you have become. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. Welcome to the Eerie Hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. They crouch in the forgotten corners of the world, behind doors you pass every day without noticing. They hum with a frequency just below hearing, pulling at threads you didn't know were tied to your soul. This place is one of them. An old theater, abandoned for decades, its grandeur slowly succumbing to dust and damp. They say it closed after something happened, something that left its mark. Not just on the peeling paint and broken seats, but on the air itself. You feel it the moment you step inside, a shift in pressure, a chill that has nothing to do with the broken heating. It waits, patient and silent, for a specific kind of listener. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The door groaned open, a heavy, unexpected thing tucked away at the side of the building. It wasn't the main entrance, boarded up and forgotten, but a smaller, almost secret way in. Dust motes danced in the single shaft of weak sunlight that pierced the gloom. The air inside is thick, smelling of decay and forgotten perfume, a cloying sweetness layered over the sharp tang of mildew. It coats your tongue, a physical sensation that makes you cough. Deeper within the darkness, a faint, rhythmic sound begins, like soft, distant tapping, uneven but persistent. Tap, 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 tap. It echoes oddly in the vast, empty space, drawing you forward. You step fully inside, and the door behind you settles shut with a quiet, definitive click that feels louder than it should. Turning, you see it's just a plain metal door, worn and scratched, identical to countless others. Yet looking at it now, a flicker of doubt touches you. Did you open it, or did it simply yield? The rhythmic tapping continues, leading you down a narrow corridor, lined with peeling wallpaper in a pattern you can't quite focus on. Every tap seems to come from a different direction, a disorienting, playful sound in the oppressive silence. You find another door ahead, heavier, made of dark wood, closed but not locked. It feels significant, like a punctuation mark in the narrative of the building. The tapping seems to pause just behind it, waiting. You reach for the knob, your heart picking up pace, a growing unease settling deep in your gut. This isn't just an abandoned building. It's a place that holds its breath, and you've just become part of its waiting. The wooden door swings inward easily, revealing not a grand hall as you expected, but a cluttered room, perhaps an old storage area or a cramped office. Dim light filters from a single grimy window high on the wall. The rhythmic tapping has stopped, replaced by a new sound, a faint, mechanical whirring, like something is slowly turning over, just out of sight. The air here is even thicker, carrying the distinct scent of old grease and something metallic, like dried blood. It's subtle, unsettling. You move deeper into the room, stepping over dusty tarps and forgotten props. A table in the center is covered with sheets, and beneath one, a shape suggests something small and round. As you approach, the whirring sound seems to originate from there. Lifting the sheet reveals a collection of antique music boxes, their intricate designs dulled with age. One, particularly ornate, is slowly winding down, its small cylinder rotating, though no melody plays, only the faint, continuous whirring. This is the uncanny event, the source of the sound. Yet it offers no explanation. Your gaze drifts across the room, past shelves of decaying costumes and props. And there, tucked away in a corner, is another door. This one is small, low to the ground, like an access panel or a child's hidden entrance. It has no handle, only a dark, narrow slit running vertically down its center. Looking at it, a profound sense of disorientation washes over you. How long have you been in this room? The memory of entering feels hazy, distant. You feel a growing sense of fear, not of what's here, but of what you might be forgetting. The small door seems to watch you, its dark slit like a single unblinking eye. It's a door that doesn't invite entry, but demands observation, challenging the very logic of the building. What else here defies expectation? The whirring music box falls silent, and the abrupt lack of sound is more jarring than the noise itself. You move away from the collection, drawn instead to the small, handleless door. Its dark slit seems deeper now, less like a join and more like a void cut into the wood. As you approach, a faint, cold draft whispers from it, carrying a scent you can't place. Something like ozone mixed with regret. You kneel before it, tracing a finger along the edge of the slit. It feels unnaturally smooth, almost polished. And then, from within the dark opening, comes a soft, wet sound. A single elongated drip, like water falling onto a yielding surface far below. Drip. It echoes unnaturally in the confined space, seeming to hang in the air before fading. This simple sound is the uncanny event, a chilling reminder of the impossible spaces this building seems to contain. Your mind races, trying to reconcile a dripping sound within a supposedly dry, abandoned structure, especially coming from such an improbable opening. A wave of paranoia grips you. You feel intensely vulnerable, kneeling there before that dark slit. The air grows heavier, pressing in. Looking back towards the larger wooden door you entered through, it seems further away, hazier around the edges. Did it always have that faint, shimmering quality? The small, handleless door is no longer just an oddity. It has become a threshold, a suggestion of impossible depths and hidden connections. The dripping sound repeats. Drip, pulling at your focus, drawing your thoughts inward. It feels like the building is breathing, and that sound is its slow, deliberate pulse. What secrets does it guard behind these strange, quiet doors? Standing up from the small door, the feeling of being watched intensifies. It's not a hostile gaze, but something older, more patient, observing you with a profound lack of judgment. The room seems to subtly shift around you, the shadows deepening in unnatural ways, clinging to corners that should be lit by the dim window. You turn, scanning the space, but see nothing out of place. Just the dusty music boxes, the shrouded table, the shelves of props. Yet the feeling persists, centered somewhere behind you. The atmospheric detail is the quality of the shadows. They are too still, too dark, like patches of solid absence. Then you see it. On the wall near the small door, a line of text has appeared. It's written in what looks like dried paint or grime, crudely formed, but legible. Don't leave this room. The uncanny event is this impossible graffiti, a message materialized from the building itself. Your breath catches in your throat. This isn't just decay or neglect. It's something active, aware. A profound sense of fear washes over you, cold and sharp, coupled with a terrifying thought. Why would it tell you not to leave? Is something out there, in the rest of the theater, worse? Or is the warning about leaving this room for somewhere else, somewhere deeper? The small door, with its dark slit and single drip, is the only other exit in this room. It feels like a deliberate trap. The door motif is now a binary choice: stay or venture into the unknown, impossible space. The message on the wall is the ambiguous line, a warning that could mean salvation or damnation. You feel your sense of self beginning to fray, the solid ground of reality dissolving beneath a tide of impossible events. Are you truly seeing this? The message on the wall seems to pulse faintly in the oppressive gloom, the letters momentarily seeming darker, wetter. The air grows heavy, thick with the scent of dust and that indefinable metallic tang, mixed now with something bitter, like burnt sugar. You stand frozen, caught between the command on the wall and the silent, inviting darkness of the small, slit door. Staying feels like waiting for an inevitable horror, while leaving through that opening feels like stepping into an abyss. Your moment of psychological fracture is profound. The mind rebels against the impossible, yet here it stands, undeniable. The message, "Don't leave this room," burns into your vision. Is it a plea from something trapped here, a warning from the building itself, or a command from whatever waits beyond the small door? Suddenly, the single drip from the slit door repeats, louder this time, heavier. Drip. It sounds closer, more immediate. And with it comes another sound, faint but clear, echoing as if from a great distance down a long, winding tunnel. A distorted human cry, choked and desperate. The uncanny event is the combination of the physical drip and the impossible, echoing sound from the void. It's a sound that triggers a deep, primal fear, the terror of something lost and suffering. The small door, the motif, no longer just suggests depth. It actively calls, pulling you towards the source of that sound. You look back at the door you entered through, the larger wooden one. It seems impossibly far, shrouded in shifting shadows. Leaving this room feels increasingly impossible, not just forbidden by the wall, but by the sheer distance that has inexplicably grown between you and the entrance. The ambiguous line is the echoing cry itself. Is it a victim to be saved, or a lure to be trapped? Your will to resist wavers, the fear giving way to a morbid curiosity, a terrifying compulsion to understand the source of the impossible sounds. The echoing cry fades, leaving only the silence and the faint, rhythmic drip, drip, drip from the small door's slit. You stand before it, the command on the wall a forgotten whisper against the overwhelming pull of the unknown. The air is still and cold, carrying the phantom scent of metal and ozone. You are no longer you, not fully. The person who stepped through the emergency exit is gone, replaced by someone fragmented, defined by impossible sounds and shifting doors. The emergency exit door itself is a faded memory, eclipsed by the small, waiting opening before you. The final uncanny event is the stillness within the slit, the silence that follows the drip, a predatory calm before something. You reach out, not to open it, but to touch the smooth, dark wood around the slit. It feels colder than it should, as if absorbing heat. The door is the ultimate motif here, the final threshold. Your emotional fracture is complete. You are no longer afraid, but numb, consumed by a terrible acceptance. The world outside this building, the real world, feels like a dream you are waking from. This place, the true, albeit horrifying, reality. You lean closer to the slit, listening. There are no more cries, no more drips. Only a faint, almost inaudible hum, the building's pulse. The ambiguous line lingers in the silence. Has it ended, or just truly begun? There is no escape back through the doors you came. There is only forward, or an endless wait in this room. The emergency exit is a phantom, a door that may never have existed in the way you remember, or one that leads only back to a reality you no longer fit into. The horror is not just in what you saw, but in what you've become, a part of the theater's quiet, waiting existence. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet.